Have you ever sent a text to the wrong person and watched your whole world flip upside down in an instant? Imagine venting about your deadbeat ex, only for that message to land in the hands of someone far more dangerous, someone who runs shadows in the city, pulling strings you didn't even know existed. That's the chilling spark behind this tale, where one slip of the finger drags an ordinary mom into a web of secrets, power plays, and unexpected sparks. Stick around, because what starts as a simple mistake spirals into something that could shatter everything she holds dear. Sophia's fingers flew across her phone screen in the dim light of her cramped kitchen, the rain outside pounding like it was trying to break in. She'd just tucked little Mia into bed after another rough night of fevers and endless coughing fits. 4 years old and already tougher than most adults, but that didn't make the worry any easier. Rent was looming like a storm cloud, and her ex, Jake, was ghosting her again. 3 months of child support vanished into thin air. She typed out her frustration, mentioning that shady job he'd bragged about with the Rossi family, thinking it might jolt him into responding. Hit send. But in her haze of exhaustion, she tapped the wrong contact. Some random number she'd saved ages ago, probably from a mix-up at work. No big deal, right? Until a reply buzzed back almost immediately, "What Rossi job?" Her stomach twisted. This wasn't Jake. The stranger's messages kept coming, sharp and demanding, like they were used to getting answers without asking twice. Your name. Now. Sophia stared at her phone, heart racing. How did they know to push like that? She tried brushing it off as a goof, but the responses escalated. Address. Panic set in. She set the phone down, hands shaking, and peeked out the window into the stormy night. The street looked normal, wet pavement reflecting streetlights, a few parked cars. But something felt off, like eyes were on her. Whispers online have floated around about these kinds of slip-ups, where a wrong text pulls you into circles you never wanted to know existed. Reports claim people have accidentally pinged the wrong players in underground networks, turning everyday folks into targets overnight. Sophia didn't know it yet, but she'd just pinged Alessio Rossi himself, the man at the top of a family that's been whispered about in the city's darker corners for years. By the time her phone lit up with her full name and address, Sophia was frozen. Sophia Hayes. 728, Elm Street, Apartment 4C. Your girl's fever broke, didn't it? How? She hadn't shared any of that. Mia's soft breathing from the next room was the only sound breaking the silence, but now it felt vulnerable, exposed. Rumors swirl about how these powerful figures keep tabs, pharmacy records, emergency contacts, even casual mentions in old conversations. It's been said that once you're on their radar, privacy vanishes like smoke. Sophia's mind raced. Was this Jake messing with her? Or had she stumbled into something way bigger? She glanced outside again, and there they were, dark SUVs pulling up, engines idling, forming a silent blockade around her building. No lights, no sirens, just presence. The kind that screams control. Her phone buzzed one last time, coming up. Not a question. A fact. The knock came soft but firm, echoing through her thin door like a warning. Sophia's hand hovered over the chain lock, every instinct screaming to barricade herself in. But with Mia asleep just down the hall, what choice did she have? She cracked the door, and there he stood, Alessio Rossi, silhouetted against the hallway light. Broad shoulders in a sharp suit, eyes like steel cutting through the shadows, a faint scent of expensive cologne mixed with something sharper, like authority etched into the air. Behind him, a hulking figure scanned the hall, hands ready. Sophia Hayes, Alessio said, his voice low and commanding, like he owned the words. We need to talk about Jake Donovan. Her knees nearly buckled. How deep did this go? It's speculated in hushed online threads that men like him don't show up unless you've crossed a line, or someone close to you has. And Jake? He'd been secretive lately, dodging calls, but she'd chalked it up to his usual flakes. Now, facing this stranger who knew too much, she realized her ex had dragged them into a nightmare. Alessio stepped inside without waiting for an invite, his presence swallowing the small space. The bodyguard stayed outside, a silent sentinel. He scanned the room, the scattered toys, the half-empty medicine bottles, with an unreadable look. "Your ex took something from my family," he said flatly, unbuttoning his jacket like this was just another business chat. Information that could burn everything down. Sophia's mind reeled. Jake, the guy who couldn't even show up for Mia's birthday, stealing from a powerhouse like the Rossis? But as Alessio laid it out, the pieces clicked, a flash drive with names, deals, routes, stuff that rival groups would kill for. Reports claim the Rossi network has been buzzing with internal leaks lately, whispers of betrayals that could spark wars between old Italian families and emerging threats from the east. He used you as his emergency contact, Alessio added, his blue eyes locking on hers. Listed you months ago. That's how I know about Mia's meds from the pharmacy we own. Exposed. Watched. And now, pulled into the crossfire because Jake thought he could play both sides. The conversation shifted when Alessio mentioned protection. You're involved now, whether you like it or not, he said, his tone softening just a fraction as he glanced toward Mia's room. Jake's shopping that info to the wrong people, types who make me look tame. Sophia's anger flared. Jake owed her everything, yet here she was, bargaining for her daughter's safety. It's been rumored that betrayals like this don't end clean, families get caught in the fallout, with stories circulating about innocent bystanders vanishing to send messages. Alessio offered a deal, help lure Jake out, and he'd shield them. No threats, just cold logic. Pack a bag. We're leaving tonight. Sophia hesitated, but the SUVs outside weren't just show, they were a barrier against whatever hunted Jake. She woke Mia gently, bundling her up with her favorite stuffed bear, and followed Alessio into the night. The drive to his estate felt endless, the city lights blurring into questions. What if this was all a setup? But as Mia dozed against her, Sophia sensed a shift. Alessio's glances in the rearview weren't just watchful, they held something deeper, like recognition of her quiet strength. At the sprawling mansion, hidden behind gates and guards, reality hit harder. Luxe rooms, a doctor on call for Mia's lingering cough, perks that masked the cage. Rosa, the housekeeper with a knowing gaze, showed them to a suite bigger than their old apartment. Guests, she called them, but Sophia knew better. That night, as Mia slept soundly for the first time in days, Alessio revealed more, photos from Jake's hideout, shots of Mia at the park, alone. He was planning to take her, Alessio said, handing over a backpack with her passport and cash. Shock hit like a wave. Jake, watching them, ready to use his own kid as leverage? Online buzz suggests desperate men in these circles turn to extremes, with tales of custody grabs turning deadly amid rival feuds. Sophia's trust in her ex shattered. Help me end this, Alessio urged, his voice laced with a possessiveness that stirred something unfamiliar in her, safety, mixed with a spark she couldn't name. The plan unfolded fast. Sophia called Jake from a secure line, her voice steady despite the rage. I know about the photos, the bag. Meet me or I go public. He bit, agreeing to a neutral spot, a quiet diner on the outskirts. But Alessio warned of traps. Rumors hinted Jake had already whispered to Russian contacts, the Brata, hungry for Rossi secrets. They won't ask nicely, he said, his hand brushing hers in a moment that lingered too long. Tension built as night fell, Alessio's team positioning like ghosts. Sophia stayed back, watching from the estate's screens, heart pounding. The meet went south, shots echoed, alliances cracked. Jake showed, but so did shadows from the east. In the chaos, Alessio's men recovered the drive, but not without blood. Whispers online speculate these clashes are ramping up, with tech leaks exposing old empires to new threats. Back at the mansion, Alessio returned bruised but victorious, the stain on his sleeve a silent testament. It's over, he said, exhaustion cracking his armor. Jake was alive, cooperating under watch, but the real surprise came next, stay. Not as bait, as equals. His eyes held hers, vulnerable for the first time. Sophia paused, thinking of Mia's laughter in the gardens earlier, the security she'd never known. Reports claim some in these worlds find redemption through unlikely bonds, turning power into protection. But was it real, or just another layer of control? She waited, the danger she'd escaped, the pull toward this man who'd seen her fire. In the end, one mistaken text unraveled a life of struggles and wove something new. Sophia chose to stay, not out of fear, but curiosity for what could bloom in the shadows. It makes you wonder, how many real stories start with a simple error, pulling ordinary people into extraordinary fates? Rumors suggest more than we know, hidden in the city's underbelly. If this gripped you, drop your thoughts below. What would you do in her shoes? Hit like, subscribe for more twists, and turn on notifications. You never know when the next message might change everything.